I am Razio.
I slap you. Do it. Do the cutscene more, Dragoon. Fuck. You know this guy has his camera angled like this. Guarantee it. And I'm gonna ruin it for him. I'm gonna stand right in front of it. No more screenshots for you, you sick son of a bitch. I'm good, thanks. You don't want free cocaine? I'm way too drunk to have any business playing video games, man. I was trying to top the debuff people. And here's an idea. How about you try to fucking do the mechanics? How about that?
There's no God. There's no fucking God. There's no God. There's no fucking God.
This is what I was waiting for, bro.
There's no God. Like, there's no God. Why would anybody make something like this?
You guys suck. I know you're lying, dude. What the fuck?
What's up, everybody? How's everybody doing? How's your week going? As you can tell, I sound a lot less stuffed up. So yeah, what's up? How's everybody doing? What's going on? So I was juggling a bunch of different topics of what to talk about this week. I really enjoyed the last stream, which is more about mental health, men's mental health specifically. In the last, Rozzy, stop licking my feet. In the last go around, it was a lot of fun doing that, and obviously there are issues that are important to me, and were obviously important to a lot of you. So I got a lot of good feedback on that. So, Rozzy, no, hold on. I'm taking his ball away for this stream, otherwise he's going to be squeaking it the whole fucking time. Yeah. So I decided to settle on a gaming topic this week because, again, this is a gaming channel first. I'm kind of debating whether I should start a whole new YouTube channel for the mental health stuff, but I'm not sure. For now, I'm going to keep it where it is. But next week is going to be a humdinger for sure. It's going to be about codependency, cutting toxic people out of your life, and stop relying on external validation. Something that a lot of dudes struggle with, and a lot of people in this society struggle with. But that'll be next week. This week is consoles versus PC gaming. It's been a hot topic ever since people started playing on video games on PC, and in my opinion, and I'll get into why later as we talk about it, but in my opinion, their consoles are virtually just budget PCs with a terrible operating system these days, and we'll go into why that is. I poured myself one glass of rum that I can have during I'm not gonna get drunk, nothing like that. I have during the stream just to chill, because tomorrow I have to go to work. You know, I work weekends, so it is what it is. So anyway, I'll start first and foremost by going into how I started even getting into PC gaming, because of course I'm an old fucking man, so PC gaming wasn't a thing most of my childhood. Well, not up until it wasn't a thing until I was about in middle school, junior high era, because up to that point the only games a PC could run were like educational games, basic shit like Tetris. And then it got into very niche story games like King's Quest, Space Quest, the Sierra Studios games at studios long gone. Activision bought them out and ruined that. But yeah, gaming was very much a console area, right? We had in the video game crash in the late 70s, early 80s, and where people were like, all right, that was a passing fad. There's going to be no more gaming consoles. It was, it doesn't matter. And then and I owned an Atari 2600. I mean, the goddamn thing looked like it was made out of wood. It literally had that fake wood paneling on it that they used all the time in the 80s. But then Nintendo came through and kind of shut everyone the hell up with the NES, with the original NES, which was revolutionary for its time, right? And then, of course, we had Sega and the Master System and that type of thing show up. And then, it was Nintendo versus Sega for a long-ass time. The Nintendo took on the Master System, and then the SNES versus the Genesis. And then, we had the Sega Saturn that came, and all the stupid-ass add-ons that Sega decided to throw in on the Genesis, which was a complete nightmare. And it was very, very interesting to watch and be a part of during that time. I remember, getting on the bus at school and everyone was like, no, man, Sega's better. And people were like, no, Nintendo's better, man. Little did we know that, as later down the line, PC would come along and butt fuck all of them. But we'll get to that. So I never had an NES. I had friends and cousins that had an NES, but I never had one. My parents didn't want me to get one because they're like, this melts your brain and that kind of shit. And then my brothers and I saved up and we bought a Super Nintendo, and it was awesome. The Super Nintendo was when I became a gamer for real. Like, I loved Nintendo, but I didn't get a chance to play it that much, unless I was over at my friend's house or over at my cousin's house or whatever. But mostly I didn't get to play that much because I just didn't have one. That was back in the age too. As a kid, you kind of based who your friends were based off of what system they owned, right? Like, well, I have a Super Nintendo, so I'm gonna make some friends with people that have a Sega Genesis so I can play it at their fucking house. That was the the play a lot of dudes in my school were doing, myself included. Really shitty basis for a friendship, but hey, man, some of my best friends were because of that. So I had a Super Nintendo, and then I remember the Nintendo 64 came out, right? And Nintendo 64 was pretty amazing, but at the same time, the PlayStation came out. And for those of you who don't know, it's actually Nintendo's fault that the PlayStation ever existed. A quick history lesson here. Sony was developing a Super Nintendo CD to counteract Sega CD, an attachment that would hook up to the Super Nintendo on the bottom. And Sony was developing it for Nintendo. They had a deal, but then Nintendo kind of backstabbed Sony on the deal and then recruited Panasonic to finish it. Panasonic never finished it. It never saw the light of day, and Sony was pissed, but Sony had all the development they had done for the SNES CD, and they then turned it into the PlayStation. And because Nintendo made the retarded decision to stick with cartridges while, you had Sega doing the Sega Dreamcast soon. That was a bit further on, but you had, Xbox would eventually go disc. But everyone wanted disc because the games were getting too big for cartridges. The graphics were getting too good, too much music, everything to stay on cartridge. Nintendo stuck to their guns, said we're doing cartridges still for the N64. And that's a bunch of developers and publishers jumped ship from Nintendo to the PlayStation. Squaresoft, it was Square Enix, but Squaresoft was what it used to be called, included. And I loved Squaresoft games. I loved Final Fantasy and all those RPGs. So I bought a PlayStation. And in fact, I still have my original PlayStation that I bought in 1996, 1997, somewhere around there, in a drawer in my living room back there. It still works too. I kind of have to hold it together for it to work, but it still fucking works. And then we had Sega trying, to stay in there, and they did the Sega Saturn, which didn't do well. They were going to do the Neptune, but that got scratched. And then they did the Dreamcast, and the Dreamcast was ahead of its time, but it did ultimately fail. Then we got into the PlayStation 2 and the Xbox, and all of those systems were going. Now, the PlayStation 2 was revolutionary. It's still the best-selling console of all time. Nothing else even comes close. But the old rival of Nintendo versus Sega was gone, and even Nintendo was kind of out of the picture. I mean, GameCube did well, the Wii did well, but the Wii U did awful, and the Switch has done amazing, but that's only because the Nintendo shifted courses. They no longer wanted to compete in graphics and publishers and things like that with Sony and Xbox, who were always ripping each other's assholes apart, and instead decided to just dominate the handheld market, which in my opinion was the right move for them, and they've done well. Like, there's no other handheld system that's even close. Like, Sony tried, the PSP, and there's been others, but I mean, you look at Nintendo, its best selling shit ever was the original Game Boy and the Switch, and there's a good reason for that. PC, no other comparison. PC is the best for games in general. Hey, Mr. Ed, how you doing? I'm going to get to my ultimate opinion soon. I mean, if I really wanted to make this video, this podcast thing today kind of short, I would have just said, PC's better, have a good night. Because I do think PC's better, but I'm getting to why I think that. But consoles were dominant for so long, right? And then the PS2 was the first console where you had to buy an adapter, but it was the first one to have any kind of real internet connectivity. Then obviously you have the PS3 that was always on, that was online. It was Sony's entertainment network was completely free. Xbox, had Xbox Live with the Xbox 360. But here's the thing. Every single console developed from the early 70s, so like the Commodore 64, the Atari 2600 and 5200, and all the way up till the PlayStation 3, and this is including the PlayStation 3 and the Xbox 360, were very, very console-ish in terms of hardware. So the hardware was very specifically made for console, which made ports to and from PC very, very hard. But then you have the PC, right, which I started out as not really designed for gaming. You could get some games for them, but they were poorly coded. They were not great. They were usually educational, such as Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego. Then you got into some story, fun, click and grab games, like point and click games like King's Quest and Space Quest and those Sierra Studios games. But then for me personally, where PC really is like, damn, this is amazing, was the original Doom for PC for me. And Wolfenstein 3D was pretty mind-boggling for me as a kid. I mean, my mom didn't want me to play Doom because it was violent, so I had to get up at 5 a.m. before she was awake and play. But way before consoles were capable of this, you could play with other people over a local area network. So you could get games like Warcraft 1, Warcraft 2, StarCraft, all those RTS games, Quake 1, and even the original Doom, and have network connectivity and play with your friends and huge numbers of people. You weren't limited to how many controller ports you had, right? You could get huge games going, which were fun as hell, and that really, really appealed to me. And opened up a whole new window, right? This wasn't even internet over the internet. This was just local area networks over a hub or a router or something, and it was pretty fucking amazing. But back to my original point, consoles used very, very different internal hardware that was made very specifically for their games, and then PCs did. So if a programmer was designing a game for a Nintendo 64, right, how they would code it would be way different than if they were designing it for a PC, because of the way the hardware worked and the engine and how that memory worked. They used a different kind of RAM, a very specific kind of RAM. They used a different kind of processor. The sound chips were very, very internalized and very niche. So it was really hard to port back and forth. But once we got, let me take a quick drink. Once we got to the PlayStation 4 and the Xbox One, the hardware became universal. So the processor was an AMD processor. It had a specific name, its own code name, because it was being put in a console, but it was the same damn technology, the Ryzen technology. In the PS4, the GPU was a Radeon GPU. And so for the first time, consoles pretty much became budget PCs, specifically talking hardware-wise. And we've just seen that become more and more the case as we've gone into the PS5 and the Xbox Series S and X, because they're they're straight up just not even having code names. Like the code name processor for the Xbox One and the PS4 was a Jaguar, but it was still an AMD Ryzen chip. And then you have the new chips. Now they don't even bother changing the names for it to be in a console. They just call it the Ryzen whatever. And then they also have, they're using standardized RAM again, like DDR5, and then the GPUs are using GDDR5 or GDDR6. So they're pretty much budget PCs. And in an age, for the longest time, I used to tell people, if you want to get into gaming, if you have $600-700 to spend, you're always better off going with a PC. You get way more bang for your buck because it doesn't just function as a game console or something with a streaming app like Netflix on it. It functions in so many different ways. You can edit on it. You can go, the web browser actually fucking works, unlike the web browsers on consoles do. You can do so much on a PC other than game as well, and it's so much. You can upgrade your PC as you get more money and as you go along, which you can't do with consoles. If a new console comes out that has a better GPU or processor, you have to buy a whole new console, and you're just wasting money at that point. But hardware-wise, they're identical now. So, I mean, there are some pros to consoles having the OS generated just for gaming, because, less resources are going to get taken for background things like that happen on a PC. But it's so minuscule that it's irrelevant at this point. Long and short of it, PC became superior because things that couldn't even be imagined on console came into fruition on PC. A lot of these games as a service, right, that consoles enjoy now is because of PC. PC pioneered the way. So, as I mentioned earlier with Quake and Doom 2, and then even into the MMORPGs like Assurance Call, EverQuest, Dark Age of Camelot, World of Warcraft, Ultima Online. These were made, like, the fact that the console has this kind of functionality now is because of PC pioneering that. I mean, PC just opened you up to way more games, better looking games, better running games. And it's there's no fucking question. I mean, mouse and keyboard, I don't care how good of a fucking controller player you are. A lot of controller players too, won't mention, especially in games like Destiny and like other FPS games, that there's a lot of aim assist. But PC is just superior. Now, where we're starting to see problems is now that a lot of games are activating, crossplay, where you can play, because it's easy to implement crossplay now, because the hardware on all systems is the same. It's no longer considered a port. If something was designed for PS5 and or PC, it can be ported either direction with minimal problems because they use the same hardware. But we're running into issues now where there's a disparity in crossplay. I mean, now that the PS5 and the Xbox Series X, they can play 60 frames a second, 4K. You're no longer at a disadvantage frames-wise to players on PC, but I mean, mouse and keyboard is far superior. I look back at because you can bind so many more things, right, and access buttons faster and easier. I look back at the PlayStation 2 as the first console to my memory that you could actually plug in a USB keyboard or a mouse, but it was very, very finicky. It didn't work very well. PS3 the same. It was better than the PS2, but it had issues, and games just weren't designed for it. So you couldn't really do keybinds in games. It was mostly if you did, were an idiot and decided to keep using the on console web browser, and it was faster to type in names and URLs that way. But ultimately, PC paved the way for consoles to become what they are now. Because let's face it, consoles in this day and age are budget PCs. That's exactly what they are. You spend anywhere between $500 and $700 on a console, and you get a budget PC. And I would still, in that, recommend people just get a PC. But because of the GPU shortage, I understand why not. Because now, even low-end GPUs like an RTX 3060, or a 6600 XT, you're still spending $300-400 to just the GPU. It's not counting CPU, case, RAM, motherboard, power supply, monitor. You're not counting any of that now. The last 2 years, because of, COVID and all the other bullshit, bullshit globalist crap that's been going on in the world because of, greed and power. And it's all bullshit, by the way, but because of all of that, PCs over a period of 2 years skyrocketed in cost to build one that's suitable to your needs. We see the prices going back down now, but because so many companies these days are starting to do crossplay, where you can play with people regardless of what platform they're on. Destiny 2 is a good example. A lot of new games are doing that now. There's really no point, in my opinion, unless there's a very, very unique exclusive game that they're releasing, such as for the PS5, Final Fantasy, 16. Unless there's something like that, there's really, in my opinion, no reason to own a console at this point. Just get a fucking PC. If you only have $700, don't be a bitch. Save up an extra $300 and spend $1,000 and get $1,000 to $1,200 and build yourself a decent PC, because you can upgrade it as you get more money later. As your demand and your tastes increase, you'll still be able to cross play with people. You can still hook up a controller if you really want to use a controller. And at the end of the day, most exclusives that get released for consoles within a year or two of release get released on PC anyway. There's a port of it to PC anyway. PC is vastly superior in nearly every single metric. I know it's a meme, but it's true. PC Master Race, it couldn't be more true. I mean, the shit that the PC has been able to pull off in the gaming sphere and overtake everything. I mean, PCs have overshadowed gaming consoles now for over a decade, right? Like, all the real gaming happens on PC. And this is not to shit on anyone who owns a console. I have a PS4 Pro. I have an SNES Classic. I have the original PlayStation. I have a PS3, one of the originals. I have a Switch that I play every once in a while. But it's all, just for fun and a little exclusive game here or there. But ultimately, man, like, I've been a PC gamer since being a PC gamer was possible, which is roughly around, like, let's see, when did Warcraft 1 come out? Or not even Warcraft 1. I would say Doom 1. I'm going to find that right now. When did Doom 1 come out? When did the original Doom release? Because that was when I was like, dude, this is the shit. 1993. So I've been a PC gamer since 1993. If I could play something on PC over console, I'd do it every single time. And it's just the facts, man. Like, PC is superior in every way. Hardware, you have the option to still use a controller if you want to. You can play now with people on multiple platforms. Your PC functions as not just a gaming machine, but you can edit video on it. You can browse the internet much easier than you can. It actually allows you to use Java and other scripting, so you can see all the websites. You can download movies, save movies. You can keep pictures on there. You can do so much shit that, at this point, the last time I played a game on my PS4, shit, was years ago. The only thing, and now with smart TVs, if I want to stream something, I just stream on my smart TV, right? My smart TV has all the apps on it that I need. My PS4 is virtually a Blu-ray player. Hold on, Rozzy's being a shit. Hey, stop it. He's being an asshole. Anyway, sorry about that, guys. But yeah, there's just no point. Does anybody in chat, do you guys have a PS5? I'm not shitting on you if you're a huge console fan, or if that's all you could afford, or if there's a game you want. That's awesome. Like, I loved my PlayStation. All my consoles, I've loved them, but they just still don't compare to PC. And that's when I decided that at the end of because every game, let me put it this way, every game that I bought my PS4 for turned out to be terrible. Final Fantasy VII Remake was shit. Division was shit. Division 2 was shit. Destiny 2, when it started, was shit. Destiny 1 was all right, but those are all the games I bought a PlayStation 4 for. So it's like, dude, I bought a console, and on the off chance that one of these games would be worth, you know, the $500 I spent on a console. It's like, I'm not doing that again. So I didn't buy a PS5. I could walk out and go get one right now if I wanted to. I know a place that has them in stock here. I've never owned an Xbox, and that's not out of any kind of loyalty to Sony. It's just because of the DRM shit they pulled. I was totally open to buying an Xbox One when they were announced, if it would have been better than PS4. But Xbox One, and I actually prefer Xbox controllers to PlayStation controllers. But yeah, the DRM shit Microsoft tried to pull, and then, I mean, I never owned an original Xbox either, because there's just none of the companies that publish games that I like was publishing on Xbox. But yeah, I just don't see a point in owning a console anymore and buying a new console. I got a Switch for Metroid Dread, for Breath of the Wild and Breath of the Wild 2, because those are fantastic games. But that's the thing, is the Switch, if I go on like vacation, I can take my Switch with me. You know, I have a gaming laptop too, but I could take that. I sold my gaming laptop, but I could get another one. But like, yeah, the Switch has very specific games, and that's one thing where Nintendo again is really smart, right? Most of the games that come out for PlayStation and that come out for Xbox eventually come out for PC as well, or they're released with PC at the same time. Nintendo never releases their games on PC. And yeah, their hardware can't compete graphically and sound-wise to PlayStation or Xbox, but they don't need to. It's a portable system. They're smart, man. They did what they had to do. And so yeah, if you want to play Nintendo games, the new Nintendo games, you have to own a Switch. But that's not the case for PC for PS5 or Xbox Series X, right? If it's going to come out on PC anyway, or someone's going to port it. But you can't port Nintendo Switch games. All the Nintendo shit that's been ported to PC was, you know, years after that console was dead. So that's my thoughts. That's my opinion. PC versus console. PC just fucking wins. I mean, it's PC master race for a reason. And to be quite honest, consoles and PCs have never been more comparable now with all the crossplay and the fact that consoles are using all the same hardware as a budget PC does. They're literally using the same fucking hardware. There's no difference. Just the motherboard is cut and in a way to fit whatever case they put it in. That's it. What about some of the games that are exclusive to their consoles? What's up, Nick? Yeah, I talked about that earlier, but I'll touch on it again. Those games, most exclusives eventually end up on PC anyway. Right, at least a year after launch on their consoles, they do it for launch sales, but most of them get ported to PC anyway. Galantis, now that PC parts are returning to MSRP prices, I'm planning on building a new PC on Zen 4 when it comes out. Time to say goodbye to my... Oh, dude, shit. What's up, Galantis? You're still running Sandy Bridge, dude? Yeah, it's definitely time, dude. I don't need to upgrade, obviously, to Zen 4 at all. Right now, I'm running a Ryzen 5900X. I'm running an RTX 3080 Founders Edition, 32 gigs of RAM. I really, really, really don't need to. But, PCs are the one thing I will spend money on that I don't need to. I mean, my computer does everything I want it to and more. But yeah, when Zen 4 comes out and the next GPUs come out, I'll buy it. I'll do it. I'll upgrade it even though I have no fucking need to. For sure. That's my Achilles heel, man. That's that's where I waste money. So, how you been, Galantis, by the way, dude? It's been interesting getting back into streams. I'm enjoying these podcast things more than I still like playing games on stream, and I'm still going to do that. And kind of reserve Tuesdays for that. But yeah, I really like these podcasty stuff, especially because I think what I'm planning on doing now is I'm going to talk about a gaming topic on Thursday, and then the following Thursday I'm going to talk about a world issue or a mental health issue, more specifically aimed at men. That's just kind of what I want to do to help people out. I mean, as a 40-year-old dude, I've been around the block a few times. I think I can help some people out. But yeah, I was fine with a 27-inch 60Hz monitor, but I just upgraded Alienware, new OLED monitor. Nice. Yeah, I updated monitors as well. And so I have two 32-inch 144 hertz 1440p monitors that are curved, and I can't go back to 60 hertz, man. 144 hertz 2K is the sweet spot for gaming, in my opinion. I think 4K is a waste of money unless you're on a screen that's bigger than 40 inches. I think it's a waste of money because it's so hard to tell the difference between 4K and 2K until you're on a really big screen, and then the rig you have to push high frames in 4K is double the cost of one to push max frames in 2K. And it'll get there. It'll, next 5 years, 10 years, it'll get there where 4K is the standard resolution everyone's running, but it'll be a while, man. Good, man. Checking in on your streams when and if I'm awake. Oh, thanks, man. I appreciate it. Yeah, I'm kind of done with Final Fantasy 14. I did a whole video on that though, and it's on my YouTube channel, and you can watch it when you have time. But yeah, WoW's next expansion is looking interesting. I'm keeping an eye on that because they're going back to the basics, the way vanilla WoW was. But I'm obviously very, very, very skeptical they can pull it off. But yeah, dude, just getting content rolling again. Kind of got off track there, but end of the day, guys, PC versus console gaming. If you like consoles, if you like it, if you have fun and you have no desire to get a PC and learn a PC, then don't. It's totally fine. I'm not shitting on people who love consoles. It's totally fine. Get a console and play and have fun. But yeah, PC is fucking far superior, and you can't really argue with it. Yeah. Oh, good, Galantis. Thanks, man. That's awesome. Yeah, and don't hesitate, Galantis, to jump in the Discord if you have any ideas for talking topics that we can talk about in the streams. We're gaming or otherwise. But yeah, it's just definitely a fact that PC can't be touched in terms of what a PC can do versus what a console can do, what resolutions you can push, the upgradability of the hardware. Also, if you have a problem with your PC and you're even somewhat knowledgeable, you can crank it open yourself, take a look at it, replace a part, right? While if you have a problem with your console, the second you open it, you void a warranty, and you can either try to fix it yourself and damage it permanently, or you can send it in and wait, a month for them to send it back, and it's still fucking broken or whatever. You have to deal with the whole, Sony or Microsoft's or Nintendo's RMA process. So it is what it is. PC master race, bitches. I mean, get on the train or, stay on your console, you peasants. Just kidding. Really, though. Yeah, I think the hard stance that SE is taking on modding recently is fueled by protecting console players. Oh, for sure. Yeah, and again, that's where we run into the biggest issue with crossplay is that kind of thing, right? What was my favorite console again? Man, that's a good question, Nick. I would say favorite's a strong word. I would say the console, it's a tie for me between the Super Nintendo and the original PlayStation. The PlayStation 2 was amazing, and to this day is still the best-selling console of all time. I really enjoyed a lot of the exclusive games on PS3. Nothing sticks out on the PS4 for me is like, oh man, this was worth getting a PS4 for. But the Super Nintendo and the PlayStation both had, in my opinion, the absolute best library of games. I mean, PlayStation 2 probably comes kind of close. What was my favorite game on each? Okay, so on Super Nintendo, it was definitely Chrono Trigger. And then on PlayStation, it was Final Fantasy Tactics, with Final Fantasy VII coming up really close behind it. What about you, man? I love questions like that, because sometimes I forget and I have to, turn this 40-year-old brain on and look back and, what was my favorite, man? very nostalgic about some of those times, you know. Are you? By the way, Galantis, are you going to give WoW another shot when the new expansion comes out? Since they're reverting back to the standard talent trees and getting rid of borrowed power and all that shit, I'm interested. What do you think? Oh, also, guys, before I forget, all of my streams that are podcast in nature, so they're not gaming streams, I'm also uploading each and every one. So far, all 4 of them, this one will be as well, are up on Spotify. So if you just want to listen because you missed something, or if you're driving to work, you have a long commute and you want to listen, and you have a Spotify account, you can find me on there, and you can listen to them that way. The talent trees in the work order system has me interested. Oh yeah, dude, work order system's right up your fucking alley, Galantis. I mean, you're like the crafter, dude. I think that would totally be your jam, man. I didn't play PS1 or Nintendo that much. I was on PS2 and PS3 and Xbox 360. Nice, man. Nice. Yeah, I mean, I'm an old man, dude. Like I said at the beginning of the stream, I still have my original PlayStation 1 that I bought in 1996, 97, and it works. Spyro, nice. Spyro the Dragon. Wait a minute. Hold on. Yeah, my girlfriend really likes Spyro. Pokemon Stadium. Nice. You know, that's the other weird thing is I never really got into Pokemon. It was Pokemon kind of came after my time because, you know, Pokemon, when it initially came out, it was very, very targeted towards kids. And by the time the first Pokemon games were getting popular, I was already playing, you know, shit like you know, Final Fantasy 7 and 8 and 9 and stuff. I'm sure that if I was a kid when Pokemon came out, like a little kid, I would have dug it. SOCOM, nice. I think my favorite game on PlayStation 2 was probably Metal Gear Solid 3. Metal Gear Solid 3 was a fucking masterpiece. It's the best Metal Gear game by far. Really, really, really good. And I bought a PS3 actually for Metal Gear Solid 4, which was still a great game, but nowhere near Metal Gear Solid 3. But I enjoyed my PS3. I mean, it was the last PlayStation console that was, I mean, if you were lucky enough to get one of the first 2 edition releases, it was the last PlayStation console that was backwards compatible, which is unfortunate. I think it's really dumb. It's dumb and it's smart that they don't go back, that they don't allow backwards compatibility on consoles, which again, on consoles, another thing you have to deal with. Because at first, you know, the PlayStation 2, you could put PS1 games in there, no problem. And the PlayStation 3, if you bought one of the first editions, would play PlayStation 1 and PlayStation 2 games, no problem. And then I think you could, I think you could play Xbox One's game on the Xbox 360. I mean, the original Xbox on the Xbox 360. But then companies are like, wait, instead of letting them play all the games they already own on the new console, why don't we just sell a streaming service? Once the internet caught up for upload download speed to let you stream games, they took advantage of it. And it's one of the unfortunate things about consoles, right? Like on a PC, if I want to play a game that, you know, came out on the PC in the late 90s, early 2000s, I can install it. Someone has probably made a patch for it, or I can just run it in compatibility mode and I can play it. Well, if you know, I have a PS4, if I put a PlayStation 1 disc in there, it doesn't know what the fuck it is. A PlayStation 2 disc? Nope. 3? Nah. That's another huge problem. In fact, if I want to play PS2 or PS1 games or PS3 games on my PS4, I have to subscribe to PlayStation Now and download the games, stream the games. It's fucking stupid. And I get why they do it. They make money. Make plenty of money off it, but it's dumb. It's greed, man. Nothing but greed. So, yeah, this podcast was able to be pretty short and sweet, you know, because I mean, you can't really compete. Halo 2, I think, was Xbox. Yeah, I think that was the original Xbox, Nick. And Halo revolutionized a lot of things for consoles in terms of playing with other people and first-person shooters on consoles. Halo paved the way for consoles there, but overall, PC paved the way for pretty much multiplayer everywhere on consoles. Not limited to how many controller ports your console has, right? But yeah, short and sweet, guys. PC master race. PC's better. If you, let me put it this way: if you can afford a console, and these days, because of the silicon shortage, you can still find, every time I go to Walmart, or I fucking hate going to Walmart, but anytime you go to a store, there's usually Xbox Series S's there. I've never seen a PS4 actually in a store other than a very specific store in the mall that's by my house. But in order to get it, you have to buy it in a 2-controller plus a game bundle, so they won't just sell you the console straight up because they want to make maximum profit off their limited stock. Nintendo Switches now are widely available. It's a little harder to get an OLED Switch, but they're still around. But if you have enough money, so that what that ultimately means is if you want to buy an Xbox Series X or a PlayStation 5 right now, you are going to be paying $100 to $200 over MSRP. So not quite scalping prices, but you're going to pay a premium now for a console, one of the new consoles. So if you have the money for that, unless there's an exclusive game on that console that you want to play more than anything, and you're 100% sure that game's not going to get released on PC within a year or two, if you have the money for a console, don't buy one. Save up a little extra, an extra $300, and get a PC. You'll be happy you did. But anyway, ladies and gents, thanks so much for tuning in. It's a bit of a short one today. I just wanted to go over PC versus console. I thought it would be interesting. Next week, my parents are coming into town, so I'll probably be able to stream on Tuesday for a game, but I'll try to stream on Wednesday if I can, an actual game. If not, we'll definitely hit the week after for playing either some more Elden Ring or some Red Dead Redemption, or just playing something fun and drinking and shooting the shit with everybody. But next Thursday is going to be a topic mainly aimed at dudes. So if you're a teenager, it's really going to be really good for you. If you're in your 20s, it'll be really good for you. Shit. If you're in your 30s or 40s, it'd be really good for you. And it's about codependency and toxic friends and toxic relationships, romantic or otherwise. And we're going to talk about that. I have a lot of experience in that. And I got a lot of positive feedback about happy wife, happy life is bullshit. So we're definitely going to go into doing some more help for dudes, especially us gamer dudes, right? We tend to be more reclusive. We tend to be a little more introverted. And so I like to, give people a place to talk about these sorts of things until YouTube cancels me. Then I'll find somewhere else. But anyway, guys, thanks so much for tuning in and participating and being around. I really, really appreciate it. I'll always post when my streams are coming up at least 3 or 4 days in advance. So I'll probably post the one about the thing next week within the next few hours after I upload this current episode to Spotify. But thanks, guys, for tuning in. Everybody have a wonderful evening. Take care of yourselves. And as always, keep it real.